Yeah, thank you also on my behalf. I will be talking about ecosystem, about federation as well, just like my colleague from Phoenix project, EUSBSR. Basically, if you think about the sessions this morning, and those of you who were there yesterday, I think that we have seen repeated themes, things that are sort of bothering all of us. So there's a lot of changes happening in logistics, and we need to do something about it. And it's not just ICT systems, it's a way that we're going to work. We need to change a lot of things. Luckily, we have been doing this kind of collaboration already for some time, even before we had COVID or worse still, the Russian aggression. So we have our associations, like we have Transport Innovation Association here. We have our logistics forum in Estonia, and also Cast Nordic in Finland. So in the recent times, we have been working on collaboration, on federating the things, because it seems like we're doing the same kind of things. So let's do it together. There's a lot that we can do together. I will be talking about this. There are challenges and there are also opportunities in this. If we think about our network, we all have participants from authorities, from enterprises, obviously cities and so on. So we have a good sort of scope of the stakeholders. And that's important because the change that we need to do in logistics is really going to extend across all of these sectors. So in that sense, our collaboration for developing digital logistics, for looking at the sustainability of logistics can be done well together. We have a plan. We actually made this a couple of years ago in Finland. We were doing interviews of enterprises and other stakeholders, and a number of things popped up. So what needs to be done in the coming 6 years? And most of them are still quite valid. So we have seen, or let's say the stakeholders have seen the needs for these developments. Well, we have picked some of them as our focus area because we see that these are currently the most burning ones. So obviously, as was said, there's going to be the FT regulation that will come in force. Later today, we will have Ulrika and our colleagues talking about that in the moderation session. So more of that is coming. But the legislation needs to be in place. And it's coming on us right now. Also, we need to have interoperability as we are going to make implementation of FT. It's not just a specification that an ICT company makes work. We need to make it work across the nations, between authorities in one country, with the enterprises, between enterprises, huge amount of challenges ahead of us. So even more reason to collaborate and federate, as EUSBSR quite rightly said. We will need to have all of those APIs, but we will also need more. So that's an area where we need to focus on. And then finally, at the same time, we need to take care of the sustainability. But we have a good chance now. We will have transparency of logistics and supply chains, and that means that we will actually be able to calculate the emissions of a single package or pallet, let alone the whole container or train. So more information will be available, and that means we will be able to have more impact. Well, coming from sort of northern part of our collaboration from Finland, we are seeing a lot of the similar problems that were discussed earlier today. So we are isolated in a way from the east. So we need to look south. You guys here in Baltics are more important to us than ever. We need to make our corridors work together. We also look west, obviously. It was good to have the US guys talking yesterday and today. So it seems that these new sort of partnerships are more valuable than ever. And if we look at our own Finnish angle, we are very dependent on sea freight, but we need to build redundancy also on other routes, road and rail. So let's hope you get this Rail Baltica eventually done, and Amber Train is quite important while waiting for that now. So make that work too. And then we need to look beyond that. So there's a multimodality of the supply chains. So how do we make those work? That's where our work is getting tricky. We heard yesterday from the IRU person giving a good presentation that even ECMR, it's been around for a long time. It's not harmonized. Jesus, how can it not be harmonized after all these years? We are building a solution that is interoperable. Our standards are not interoperable. So lots of work ahead of us. So those are the kind of challenges that we are facing. And then we need to think about the scalability as well. Even if we make the new data sharing solutions available, how do we get everybody involved? This is going to mean that there will need to be a huge commitment, initially from authorities, obviously, but then more and more from the enterprises as well. And in doing this, we will need to have supervision on what is being done. It needs to be cyber secure, it needs to be interoperable and all that. Okay, thinking about FT and the opportunity there, clearly this is an area where our collaboration is now taking great steps. There has been a memorandum of understanding made already in June between the stakeholders of our associations and other partners, companies as well. And now there's going to be one between the regional governments or the ministries, which is really enforcing our approach. So there's good collaboration, and we are very thankful for that. The memorandum of understandings don't actually make the thing happen, but it means that there's a mindset for it. So this is part of the opportunity now. The challenge is to walk our talk. So there's a lot of work ahead of us. There are obviously existing standards in place already, but some of them are not fully harmonized, as said. But we need to cover also a lot of areas. There needs to be a solution for dangerous goods, how we deal with those. There needs to be potentially solutions for cabotage, which can be a challenge. We just had a discussion yesterday with some colleagues that how are we actually going to make that happen, because there's still a lot that hasn't been solved. A lot of work to do. And then there are those customs-related issues like ICS2. We have the implementation of that underway. It's been implemented in the postal shipments already quite successfully. Now it's being done in airlines. They need to have it up and running next summer. And it will be followed in other modalities, sea and road freight and rail. So lots of areas that needs to be done. I think this maritime area, EMSW, that's actually moving quite well. So I need to give a credit to that sector. That is something we can use as a benchmark. But anyway, when we are talking about FT, it's really connected to a lot of things. So lots of challenge, a lot of reason for our collaboration. So as an association, where are we focusing on? We believe that if we want to make really interoperable solutions in the corridors, we need to have co-development. It's not enough that we just make our isolated software for national requirements. We need to actually make those interoperability parts together. So that's something for us really to work on. And at the same time, we need to promote this change to our stakeholders, enterprises, and others. So the first milestone, obviously, is on the public sector, on the implementation of FT. And this is now pretty much on the way. It will happen. Coming from Finland, I'm happy to say that we are committed. We will make it. I know many of our friends in the neighboring countries will do that as well. That's also good news. Recently, I heard that more and more European nations are following into that. Well, that means we probably are going to have a solution for Europe. We will be ready for FT in Europe, not just in our region. Very good. So this will really fundamentally change. It will be the kind of starting point for the digitalization, but that's not the whole story, as I said. We, at the same time, need to do it right, because if we do it wrong, we will lose a lot of time and opportunity on it. So we need to resource it in a proper way. And for companies, obviously, there needs to be a big enough incentive to join it. We have heard a lot of those numbers, why it actually is going to be potentially saving money, time, like we heard from EUSBSR, huge amounts of money. Yesterday we heard about those tomatoes which are losing their weight while waiting at the border and losing 4,000 euros. Well, we have done cases with salmon shipments, and if the salmon is not going in time, you lose 100,000 on one shipment. So lots of reasons to get things right. Okay. Then, I was also asked to say something about federated. Well, we had pretty much similar story already, so I'm not repeating much of what has been said. Maybe I would like to say that this is a kind of a parallel project, also DTL project. And by the way, there's going to be a federated 2.0 too. That was decided yesterday. That project is fundamentally focusing on systemic change of logistics, meaning that we are not talking about documents being kind of digital documents. We are really talking about the data spaces, and how to make the sort of common language across the modalities. So let's say you start your shipment with ECMR, for example, from VILNIUS. It's going to Klaipėda, so it takes boat connection. Maybe it goes to Rotterdam, and there could be a rail connection which comes after that or whatever. The document that is done on ECMR is actually converted to the way bill on the ship, and then to the way bill of the railway, and the original data that is being used will go through the whole chain. How is this made? Through the semantic model. So we are building a semantic model that allows the sort of common language for the different shipment modalities. That's the big work that is being done. So basically, here's an example which comes from IATA, this air segment. This association, many of you probably know Henk Mulder. He's the guy who's running this show there. This is his slide. So basically the idea is that in the past it was all paperwork. In many areas it still is today. Then EDI came around 2000. A lot of EDI is being used today, actually. Those kind of messages are really what is being used today. But next thing is the APIs. So the APIs between the different stakeholders, so that you are able to get data in a kind of federated way. There's a platform called OneRecord, which has been built in the airline industry. And by the way, my company has also implemented it. I'm happy to talk more if somebody's interested. The next step after this, however, is what we are looking for. That's federated. That's a data space. It will take some years, but that's going to make the fundamental change. That's the basically those you have heard about Gaia X, those kind of platforms. that will really make the data available in a big way. That's where the semantics is going to be all important. Currently, we have some platforms like that being piloted. There's the Dutch platform called PDI, and they have the blockchain solution in it. But even if they have blockchain solution, we don't need to have the same blockchain solution in the other solutions or platforms, because there are those semantic converters, meaning that the railway solution symbol in Spain is able to pick the maybe more maritime-related PDI information, which again can be converted to the airline-related one record, or maybe the road-related cars platform, ours in Finland. So this is a work that is going on, the architecture as such, and the living labs have been running for a couple of years. There's going to be 1 more year that we will be doing on this project. The results of that are here, which are the DTLF requirements: plug and play, technology independence, trusted, safe, secure solution, and then finally the federation of the platforms. So this is work underway. I'd like to summarize. So we need to collaborate a lot more, because there is so many good reasons now for it, if ever. Now we need to collaborate. We need to make the federation of our platforms. We need to make data sharing part of our business. At the same time, we need to take sustainability into account. Whatever we do, we need to cut the emissions. So it's a kind of a double challenge, and I think we will be hearing more of that later today. Twin transition. And in Finnish logistics, we are doing this already, and with our Baltic colleagues, we are building those corridor cases. And basically, we need to have all the stakeholders, public-private partnership, it needs to be there. At the same time, the incentives need to be made for the enterprises to come in, because it's really they that make this change happen. If enterprises are not coming, we're not getting this change. They need to see the benefit, they need to be committed. I think Lithuanian companies are doing a good work, listening to what you are telling in these presentations, and that's a good benchmark for all of us. So that's it. With all of this in place, our good collaboration and the initiatives we have at hand, and EFTI as a driving force for the coming years, I'm sure we are going to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Matti. Yeah. So many things have been done, so much work to be done ahead. So.
Oh yes, it's only starting.
Yeah. Thank you, Matti.